Hey everybody, Andy from Ant Panda. So this is an interesting video. I'm up super late and I just can't sleep because of all the fun that's in this latest release with The Last of Us 2. And I've been playing and enjoying it since it's come out on Friday, which has been really great. I will admit I'm only about 5 or 6 hours into it. But I'm enjoying every minute of the gameplay and such. It's just crazy to me because I've noticed there's been a lot negativity and a lot of updates for the story, which I'm going to reserve the story real quick and not even comment on that at this moment of time because honestly, I haven't played the whole game, so I don't know how that is. I'm sure it's going to be just about similar to the same or maybe a little less, but sequels tend to be a little bit more difficult because the expectation is just so much higher. But as I was just kind of cruising through it and you know, about to go to you know, kind of turn in for the night, I noticed everybody had been talking about, you know, kind of how the Metacritic score of, you know, reviewers versus users just have been, you know, hugely different. And what's interesting is I was, you know, listening to some of these videos and of course the non-spoiler ones because I don't want to get spoiled in the story. If you look on the Metacritic website, which is interesting, I've noticed some anomalies that maybe could, you know, warrant that this is botting as far as maybe kind of destroying the user score. So I'm going to transfer over and show you what I mean exactly. So I'm on Metacritic here, so I'm going to look at some comparisons before we dive into, you know, Last of Us 2 just to kind of see that. So one of the things that came to mind is, so like one of the new releases this year that actually is probably more renowned and probably more known, I think, you know, in gaming history, of course, is Final Fantasy VII, and especially the remake, which it's got an 87 Metacritic score with an 8.0 user score from 4,925 ratings. And, you know, if you look, each one of these, it's been out for a bit, so there's a number of dates that are included with this. It's got a number of times, and, you know, it seems to be, you know, mostly positive because it's a pretty positive game with some you know, negative ones kind of sprinkled in. So if you look at the dates here, it definitely kind of seems that way. Let's look at Red Dead Redemption 2 though. That's a 97 with an 8.2 user score. This one's been out, you know, probably even longer. You know, and it's available on a number of places, PS4, you know, Stadia, Xbox One. And this one's got about, you know, 11,129 ratings. And if you look, it's kind of the same deal with the dates and, you know, kind of some differences here sprinkled in, mostly, you know, kind of in the yellow. Well, if you look at the top here, it's obviously going to show there's overwhelmingly positive, right? It's green, it got a bunch of yellows, and then, of course, reds based on the scores here. So, I mean, as of well, these dates are kind of all over the place, but you know, that's kind of what it's showing right there. And actually, let me see if I can actually filter these. If we filter from date, you can actually see a lot of these here, which is basically going to show everything from this all the way down, and it's got a few dates kind of sprinkled in as well. So if we even go back to Final Fantasy VII and go by date, you can actually see it looks like a lot of these came in on June 20th for these, and then it starts going down in the dates. So if you look at Assassin's Creed Origins, which it seems like a lot of reviewers are kind of comparing to say, you know, this is a sequel, you know, kind of Assassin's Creed has many sequels, and a lot of them are kind of, you know, put to the Metascore and the user score as well. So if we look at these, we got a little over, you know, 2,000 here. And if we go, let's go based on date as well, you're going to have a few dates in here. So why am I telling you all this? Well, you know, looking at the data size, we're looking at, you know, with Assassin's Creed, we're looking at over 2,000. If we look at, you know, kind of the Red Dead Redemption 2, that's been out for, you know, a few years now, you're looking at even more than that. Summary is 11,000 ratings, which makes more sense. And then you've got Final Fantasy VII here, which it's got 4,000 or 5,000 more. Yeah, about close to 5,000 ratings. If you go over to Last of Us Part 2, now mind you, this came out in June 19th. It has 37,900 37,941 ratings. And, you know, it's overwhelmingly negative, with over 25,000 of them going negative. So many folks would say, yeah, that sounds like a review bomb, right? Well, here's the problem with that. It's only been out since technically the 19th, and I'm sure there's going to be some dates in here that are going to be farther than that. Now, a lot of these are kind of sprinkled in here, but instead of it being as random as it is, it looks like it's either super red, super green, and then maybe some yellows kind of sprinkled in. Now, if we look towards even before then, like, that sample size is just massive. I mean, look at this. This is 37,000. And a lot of these negative reviews are just piled on. Now, do I think, you know, this game is probably not going to live up to the hype of Last of Us, the first one? Possibly, maybe. So far, I've been enjoying it. I've only been, like I said, I've only been about 6-7 hours in, 5-6-7 hours in. It's probably there. I've done a lot of exploring. I love the gameplay. The gameplay is definitely upped. It still has some of those same, you know, aggression things that it does with the clickers. And I'll have my reservations on that when I start talking about this more. But as far as the story goes, so far it's not too bad. Of course, I haven't completed it yet before I can actually give a full thing. But let me just tell you, 37,000 users. I mean, and it's only 3 days. If you think about that, yeah, it's only been about 3 full days. That means there would have to be over 10,000 reviews kind of entered in for each. Now, do I think every person is going to be completely going to this and maybe review bombing it? Sure. If maybe they're catching on that, you know, it's kind of going in a bad way, I know the gaming community can do that. But there's also got to be a huge amount of folks that are actually playing the game. Like, this would mean that it's over 10,000 users per day coming in, talking about how they hate and, you know, mediocre and also love this game instead of actually playing the game. And if you looked at all the comparable data sets for all of these other games, the ones that even have been out longer, none of them even have that much. Now, that's not to say that maybe Metacritic possibly could have, you know, kind of killed some of these botting type users from those other games, but that is huge. 37,941 ratings versus the only thing that comes close to it so far is 11,000 and maybe close to 11,150 for Red Dead Redemption 2. It seems very suspect. So the chances that botting is occurring, to me, definitely says that there's a big possibility here. And I would go on a limb to even say that, you know, and gamble that that's true, because here's the thing. You can have reviewers coming in and putting in bad reviews. There's got to be some negative reviewers out there that's probably even in the forte of botting. So to be honest, like, it definitely seems like if you look at this data set versus the rest, it doesn't really kind of go in line with it. Now, Metacritic, again, could be filtering out some, but that's a huge amount. So I have a very hard time believing that all of these people went in and review bombed, especially in a 3-day time frame when they're not even trying the game. I have a hard time believing that. So I'm just saying, if, you know, you're going into this game with the mindset, I already pre-ordered it, I planned on purchasing and playing this regardless if it was going to be good or bad. But I gotta tell you, do I think it's bad enough for that particular score? I don't think so. Even if this, let's just say the story is, you know, really kind of rough around the edges and not actually, you know, fulfilling that for everybody, I really have a hard time believing, though, that it would be this drastically bad. Even if this is a direct extension of Last of Us 1 that everybody enjoyed and loved, and maybe the story has a little, you know, kind of a dip in it, then I have a hard time believing it would dip that bad. And I would think there would be even enough of a cult following that enjoys this particular game. Anyway, I wanted to bring this up because to me it just seems very suspect in that data. and I just, to be honest, I wanted to talk about it. So anyway, feel free to throw some comments down below. When I finish the game itself, I'll actually do some final thoughts. Feel free to hit a like and subscribe if you like this sort of stuff. But yeah, I just had to put a video out there because this seems very suspect to me that these would be legitimate. I definitely feel like there's some botting that's with these reviews, so be very wary of Metacritic at this point. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one. I'll catch you on the next stream.